IGEPHA im Gespräch. Der Podcast der Austrian Self-Care Association. Welcome to IGEPHA im Gespräch, the podcast of the Austrian Self-Care Association. I'm your host, Christina Nageler, and I serve as the managing director of IGEPHA. In this current podcast season, we explore the progress made by various countries on their journey towards a national self-care strategies. I've had engaging discussions with representatives of self-care associations from around the world, and I'm delighted to gain insights into the self-care landscape of our neighbor country, Germany. Although Germany may not yet have a national self-care strategy in place, they are taking steps into the right direction that can serve as a positive example for Austria. Joining me today with a deep understanding of self-care landscape in Germany and Europe is Hubertus Cranz. Welcome, Hubertus.
Hello, Christina. It's a pleasure to talk to you in German and in English.
I'm particularly excited about this conversation as we have had collaborated closely for so many years. Hubertus Cranz served as the General Director of the AESGP, the European umbrella organization of self-care associations, for 30 years. Since 2019, he has been the General Manager of the BAH. Mr. Cranz is a qualified economist and completed his pharmacy studies in Tübingen. I'm eager to gain insights into the state of self-care in Germany. Well, Hubertus, let's start with our first question. Germany has the largest over-the-counter market in Europe. On average, each person in Germany spends about 60 euros annually on over-the-counter medicines. And 46% of adults use OTC medicines weekly. Nearly 50% of pharmacy-sold medicines are available without a prescription. What role does self-care play in Germany?
Yes, well, the figures already show it. The importance of self-care and self-medication in Germany are certainly very high. And, we have seen that the economic data also indicate that it is one of the most important markets we have in the self-care environment. And I think we can say nowadays that it is widely recognized as an important part also of the healthcare system. But maybe even more important than economic data are data out of consumer surveys. And we in BAH are carrying out systematically consumer surveys. We call it Health Monitor. So it's an initiative of BAH with regard to the understanding also of people around health-related issues, including self-care. And the most recent survey shows that more than 70% of the population self-medicate with non-prescription medicines. Evidently, the total number of self-medication people is even higher. But even with non-prescription medicines, it's more than 70%. And it is fairly stable over the last years. Prevention is even going up a little bit post-corona. So overall, I think it indicates that self-medication is very important in the German market.
I read that in 2018, Germany published a national action plan for health literacy. What progress has this self-care action plan achieved in the past years, and what are the goals that have been realized?
Yes, the self-care element is, I think, only a small part of the health literacy debate and also of the national action plan. So the health literacy development, as far as we can judge it, has certainly been positive. It covers a wide range of issues, and they are certainly also very important. For us, from a more self-care perspective, the impact is maybe somewhat limited because when we look at the day-to-day activities around self-care, the current system, the interaction between the consumers, patients, the pharmacist, the medical doctor, maybe also the industry and other stakeholders, is maybe even more important than the pure development of health literacy. So yes, it is an element which complements the current activities, but it is not something which we would see as something dominating now the self-care development.
Thank you for this information. Another very interesting and special thing about Germany is the so-called grünes Rezept. I don't know if you can translate it as green recipe. I think it's something that BAH has introduced in 2004. So you are celebrating the 20th anniversary of the grüne Rezept next year. This was in 2004, as I just said, when over-the-counter products were excluded from the health insurance reimbursement. How has the grüne Rezept impacted the self-care market in Germany since then?
Yes, thank you for the question and for the word celebrating. Indeed, we regard it as a success story. We think that this was one of our best ideas. We were not alone. There were a few other stakeholders. But I think all of us think that this was a very good move to do. So the grüne Rezept, the green recipe or green prescription, is the possibility for medical doctors at the end of the day to recommend non-prescription medicine, but it is something which is happening in the form of a prescription, and therefore it's done in a much more structured way than just a simple recommendation. And indeed, after the 20 years of existence now, we are also a little bit proud. I think we can say that more than 75% of the population know, first of all, the green prescription, which is for a own initiative prescription formula, something not that evident. And indeed, more than 50% of the population, we know that again from the surveys we carried out, have indeed received also a green prescriptions or have received from a medical doctor this kind of recommendation, this kind of prescription then for a non-prescription medicine. And indeed, also the people regard it as a very useful, helpful element. First of all, because evidently it's clear also what kind of recommendation you are getting. And secondly, and this is maybe from our viewpoint even more important, is the fact that many people feel that this is increasing the trust in a recommendation, in the prescription, in what a medical doctor is advising to do. And as trust is something very important for the industry also, it is from our perspective a very worthwhile initiative, because increasing trust in our product is a key point. We also did surveys independently from the consumer survey about the acceptance of the green prescriptions with pharmacists and medical doctors. And again, also the results there were very positive. So more than 80% of the pharmacists also regard the green prescriptions as useful. So they are also used to get these kind of green prescriptions. And they find also it is in some way a very good way of interacting between the medical doctor and the patient, but de facto also than the pharmacist, because the pharmacist sees his green prescription and then possibly also gives some additional comments. And it is complementing really the whole communication stream then between the main actors in the healthcare system. And we also did surveys with the medical doctors. That's a relatively recent survey we did. We have traditionally not done so many surveys with medical doctors, but BAH now also carried out a survey with medical doctors. And part of this survey was also how they see it. And again, then the number there is about 70% of the medical doctors regard it as a very useful element, which again, in light of the fact that it is for a limited range of products, because it's primarily for non-prescription products, this is, of course, remarkable. And again, we are very happy also with the fact that all stakeholders regard the green prescription as such a good thing. Let me just say one word on this at the end, and this is we hope that we can now also transfer the green prescription system into the digital space. So we are a little bit behind other countries concerning digital prescriptions. And we are now, however, on the point to introduce them more and more. And one of our key also proposals or requests to the stakeholders is to include in this new system then of digital electronic prescriptions and also the green electronic prescriptions.
That would definitely be a great advantage then for the doctors, but especially for the consumers. Just another question to the grüne Rezept. How does the doctor get the information about the OTC products?
Yes, that's a good question there. So the information is, of course, often coming from the industry. So there are many activities ongoing every day then between companies in the non-prescription field towards medical doctors. But what we have been doing is to team up then also with a publishing house to make sure that the medical doctors have enough of these formulae in order to carry out a green prescription. Of course, you need, for the moment, still a form. You need a piece of paper, to put it blunt. In the future, maybe, as I just said, it will be done also in an electronic way. And this is provided in a kind of consortium where BAH plays a key role. And companies are contributing then also financially to this, so that there are then a sufficient number of printed versions of the forms available, and they are provided on request to the medical doctor, so they can ask for this. And they ask, or they can send their request to a central point, and then this central point is sending them the forms. And by that, it is made sure that they have enough of the forms. And this is then complementing the information which is provided by companies. Evidently, there are also other information streams, but it is, I think, also fair to say that company information towards the medical doctor, also in the non-prescription space, is an important element of information.
Great. Another topic where Germany is considered as a pioneer is the switching. And we in Austria always look to our neighbor with admiration, I would say, because you have a wide range of active pharmaceutical substances available without a prescription. What experience has Germany had with medicines exempt from prescription requirements? What effects have these switches had on self-care options? And are there any groundbreaking switch projects on the horizon?
Yes, thank you for the question. Thank you for the kind words about the developments in the German market. Yes, I think overall, indeed, we can say that the experience and also the development around switches in Germany has been positive. We have seen a wide range of important substances moving from prescription to pharmacy-only status, to be more specific, to non-prescription pharmacy-only status. And I think it is also fair to say that today you can hardly imagine that some of the substances were prescription only a few years ago. They have really enlarged the self-care options in a significant manner. A good example, I think, is always the area of non-sedating antihistamines, because it's clear that when you have, in case of hay fever, the possibility of immediately getting an effective non-sedating antihistamine, that this enormously helps, particularly also at moments when the medical doctor is not available. The whole access to these products has considerably improved the situation for sufferers. Other examples are the triptans. We have in the meantime quite a range of triptans available without prescription. And for persons suffering from migraine, I think it has considerably also improved the situation. When you ask me about what is at the horizon, yes, well, there we have our challenges. It would be not correct to say that everything is fine and that everything is moving in the right direction. So particularly when we are coming to new indications, not so much existing indications and new substances. So when we come to new indications, there we see that the whole system, let's say often still has to learn, and has to get used also. And there we have seen difficult situations in 2023 around the area of erectile dysfunction, where we have seen some switches in other parts of the world. And we have even seen it in some European countries. But there, Germany has been very reluctant. And so far, the debate, particularly in the advisory committee, but also on the political level, were not leading to any switches. And we are looking, when you ask also about the horizon, with great interest, the situation in early 2024, in January 2024, there will be a meeting of the advisory committee, which is making recommendation on switches on the micropills, or the first debates on contraception as an indication also for a non-prescription medicine. And we will see then also how far Germany will go now. It is a fairly critical point at the moment, because we have seen that after the very positive experiences with many existing substances and also indications, now there has been a kind of new reluctance, and we have to see how we can overcome this reluctance. And this is one of the big challenges for us in these days.
Good to hear, because if Germany is not switching, then usually Austria is not switching either. So it helps if you're getting some switches done. Another question is that the Global Self-Care Federation recommends that nations should develop a national self-care strategies. Are there any efforts in Germany to establish such a strategy?
Yeah, that is a challenge for us, because there are debates, and let me also clearly say that I well understand the wish of international self-care associations and to go this way, and we support also the idea, particularly of the Global Self-Care Federation, to have a resolution on self-care on the global level. To have it also in place or to get it moving then on the national level is not so evident. So for the moment, on your question, there is not a concrete initiative to establish this. And let me also explain why we have to look at the situation in a very fine way, and also differentiating well also maybe the arguments. And while we can understand that it is important also to have support for self-care from a governmental body, we have to watch all time that what we may have in mind with regard to a national self-care strategy might be not exactly what governmental bodies have in mind when you look at the self-care strategy. So we have to really see that in the political environment, not everybody may be as proactively supportive as we both may be, and maybe many of the persons listening to us when it comes to self-care. Therefore, we have to see also how a self-care strategy fits into a overall political environment. And then it has to be seen how it can be really also put in place in a very positive manner. Besides this, I think we see that many other points in the German market, many other actors in the German market, and the overall system around self-care in the German market works well. So as I just explained, it is a daily interaction between consumers, pharmacists, medical doctors, industry, other players is working well, and it is sufficiently securing a network around the positive development of self-care. Therefore, yes, we would not mind to have a good self-care strategy also on the national level. But on your question, it is not something very high on the priority list. And if it's coming, we would have to make sure that it's also really going in the right direction.
Thank you, Hubertus, for your insights into the state of self-care in Germany. Last, I'd like to ask you for your recommendation for us here in Austria. What should we pay close attention to when developing our self-care system here in Austria?
Well, what we found very useful in Germany was that after we have created a lot of evidence, we have a lot of data nowadays on the economic and social value around self-care, that when we have additional consumer surveys, so the consumers thinking also documented in well-done surveys, in representative surveys, that this can really help to deepen the understanding of what consumers expect, what consumers want, also what patients expect, what patients want. And it is a very useful additional element for the political debate. So to complement the evidence creation by surveys, we find very helpful. Secondly, I think we all agree that cooperation with the stakeholders, with relevant stakeholders, is important. What we really find very helpful is to ideally operationalize the cooperation, for example, in form of the green prescriptions, where you have really then a well-organized interaction between, for example, medical doctors, the consumer, the patient, and the pharmacy, because that at the end is really important to make concrete progress. And that's maybe also something we would think is very helpful to do. And last point, also in light of the challenges we see in the context of prescription to non-prescription status moves or in the context of switches, the interaction with the academic institutions remains important because they often influence the decisions around switches to non-prescription status, and the understanding there concerning our issues is not yet sufficiently available. So not sure if it's really a recommendation only for Austria, because that's what you asked me for, but at least that's what we in general see also as an important thing to do, and maybe it's also helpful for Austria.
Well, Hubertus, thank you for all your insights. It was great to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you for the occasion and all the best. For
us in Austria, Germany serves as an example for measures that positively impact self-care within a country. At IGEPHA, we assess projects not only in Germany, but in various pioneering countries, using them to formulate recommendations for Austria. If you are interested in our expertise, please visit www.igepha.at to learn more about us. Hope to see you soon in our next episode, IGEPHA im Gespräch. Thanks for tuning in.